sports commentator and host of Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharpe, is not having a good week. It has been reported that a former significant other, someone he had a consensual relationship with, is now suing him for $50 million. She is alleging that Shannon Sharpe sexually assaulted her, excuse me, in October of 2024 and January of 2025. It's not looking good for Shannon, but there are two sides to the story. And I don't know what you've heard anywhere else, but tonight you're going to hear both sides. Let's get started with this one. This image here, one second. Sorry, I had to cough. This image here, this is Tony Busby. This is the lawyer who is representing the accuser. The woman that is accusing Shannon Sharpe is represented by the same lawyer that represented some of the accusers in the Diddy case and the one accuser in the Jay-Z case, which turned out to be false. There's two sides to the story, folks, regardless of if you think your team Shannon, if you think your team, you know, the lady, the woman, if you're on her side or whatever, there are two sides to the story. And tonight you're going to hear two sides, especially since new information was released today. Let's get into it. We're going to start off with law and crime, and then we're going to move forward.
This just in, the Texas attorney who targeted Sean Diddy Combs with dozens of civil lawsuits on behalf of John and Jane Doe's allegedly victimized by the music mogul has a new target in his sights. NFL legend Shannon Sharpe. A brand new lawsuit was just filed in Nevada claiming Sharpe was manipulative and abusive and eventually sexually assaulted a Jane Doe, with the latest claims allegedly happening as recently as January. We got our hands on the filing, and we're going to break down everything you need to know. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Tony Busby's back. The lawyer who went after Sean Combs, Jay-Z, we'll talk about that. Well, he is still swinging at high-profile men that he claims are abusers. This time he's calling out Shannon Sharpe, the 56-year-old NFL superstar turned podcaster and commentator. Brand new lawsuit filed against Shannon Sharpe. We got a copy of it right here. It was filed out in Nevada. We're going to go over it. But
we're going to pause here. So Shannon Sharpe, my dad remembers him as a football, like some of us remember him as a football player, right? So he was a great football player. Some people know him because he co-hosted Undisputed with Skip Bayless, sports commentary show. And then there are newer people to Shannon Sharpe who know him because of the podcast Club Shay Shay, which turned out to be a huge hit. That is the podcast that had that viral interview of Cat Williams, where he said all lies will be exposed. So people may know him for different things. That is one of the questions that's on the poll where people are asking, like, who is Shannon Sharpe? This is who he is. So let's continue on.
Shannon Sharpe, in case you don't know who he is, he played 14 seasons in the NFL with the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2011. After he retired, he spent time as a sports commentator and analyst. You might remember that he co-hosted Skip and Shannon Undisputed with Skip Bayless from 2016 to 2023. Bayless and his then employer, by the way, Fox Sports, they faced their own accusations of sexual misconduct in a separate filing from earlier this year. We covered it here on Sidebar as well. Now, Sharpe is part of the sports podcast space. He hosts two shows, Club Shay Shay and Nightcap. In fact, you remember his interview with comedian Cat Williams in January 2024 on Club Shay Shay? That helped spark, I should say, a renewed interest in Sean Diddy Combs and his alleged bad behavior at his infamous parties. Got a lot of people talking.
Now, I've had to turn down $50 million 4 times. 4 times. Just to protect my integrity and that I was telling you about. Right. Because P. Diddy be wanting to party. And you gotta tell him no. You got to tell him no. I did. I did.
But now it's Shannon Sharpe who's in the spotlight for his own accusations of abuse. Because on Monday morning, Texas attorney Tony Buzbee announced on his Instagram that he'd filed a $50 million lawsuit in Nevada court against Sharpe. On Instagram, he wrote in part, "I'm extremely proud to represent Jane Doe. It takes a great deal of courage to stand up against those with power, fame, and money. I look forward to pressing this case in court." So we're going to go over this, but I want to first bring in John Clune, civil attorney who litigates on behalf of survivors of sexual abuse and sexual assault. John, so good to have you. And again, this is kind of breaking news. I didn't have an opportunity to fully go through this lawsuit, so you and I are going to break this down in basically real time. When we saw this early this morning, it was a shock to us. What was your initial reaction?
My initial reaction was the timing of it, to be honest. Before I read the lawsuit, just the timing of it for it to be filed, on Easter Sunday, that struck me as a unusual move. But then as I went through the lawsuit, the allegations are pretty disturbing. We don't know if they're true or not, but what's written in the complaint is pretty terrible stuff.
It is pretty terrible stuff. I've seen a number of things being passed around online, some things that are false. One thing I do want to go ahead and debunk, there is a picture of Shannon Sharpe putting his arm around another woman, and people were trying to pass that picture off as either a coworker or something through ESPN or a woman that he dated. That woman was his daughter. So there's a number of things that are going around out there that aren't really true. So I'm glad that I waited to cover the story today. I know it broke yesterday, but we got to get more information. Now, it was actually TMZ were the ones that I saw that first reported this story. And we're going to get into some of the updates that they have as well.
John, I have to say, to go after Shannon Sharpe, if you're Tony Buzbee, after what just happened with Jay-Z. Remember, he filed that lawsuit on behalf of a Jane Doe, a woman who claimed that she was 13 years old back in 2000 and was sexually assaulted by Jay-Z. That lawsuit was dropped, and it came after serious questions of her story and credibility surfaced, both by reporting by NBC News and evidence that was presented by Jay-Z's side. Jay-Z ended up suing this woman, suing Tony Buzbee as well. So now to go after Shannon Sharpe, another high-profile figure, does that tell you that he feels he has the evidence in this case?
That's the part there that I was saying. The last person that he just represented with this particular high-profile, similar sexual assault accusation, it turned out to be false.
Well, Mr. Buzbee is a pretty bold mover in this space. I mean, he seems to not be, shy about his decision making. So it could mean that he's got the goods in this particular case, or it could just be, kind of par for the course. And this is how he, handles his high profile cases.
But and me and
We'll pause it there. We're going to get into more information about this. Again, I want you to keep in your mind, what really matters the most, right? So let's get into a little bit more of the details here, ladies and gentlemen. Shannon Sharpe accused of sexual assault, battery, and a $50 million civil lawsuit. Again, there's Shannon Sharpe there. It goes on to say that he is facing a lawsuit accused of sexual assault and battery and engaging in the intentional infliction of emotional distress. The lawsuit was filed Sunday in Clark County, Nevada, and obtained by USA Today Sports. The plaintiff, listed under the alias Jane Doe, said she was in a relationship with Shannon Sharpe for nearly 2 years, and it began as a rocky, consensual relationship. Here's the kicker, folks. We got to get to the age. The woman who is seeking $50 million in damages said she met Sharpe at a LA gym in 2023 when she was 19. I'm seeing different numbers here. Different outlets say 20, 22, 19. Anyway, you get the picture here. And alleges in the lawsuit that Sharpe, who is currently 56 years old, sexually assaulted her twice. Once in October of 2024 and again in January of 2025. Let me go ahead and pause right there and let's address the age. Now, 19 is not underage, but one of the points I think that people have been making is, why is a guy in his 50s trying to date or have a relationship with a girl that's 19, 20 something years old, right? And more so someone who is famous. You're famous, right? Like, so there's money to be had there, right? Again, not saying she's false, she's lying, not saying she's telling the truth, but this is something that people are pointing to. They're saying like, dude, why are you dating these young girls like this, who obviously there are certain people that are going to want to go out with you because of who you are and because of how much money that you have, especially some of the younger ones. So that is something that people pointed out. Stick with women that are more mature, whatever your own age. Mature older women can do it too. They can do it too, just to be honest. But some people feel, and Charlemagne said this earlier, I saw that he was like, why is he going after those younger women like that? Like, come on, just stay your ass at home and be around people your age. So that's one of the problems that some people do have. In a statement released on Monday, Sharpe's attorney, Lanny J. Davis, called the lawsuit a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed. We'll get into some of the text messages as well. The woman said that Sharpe became violent over the course of the relationship. Now, this is serious. She says that he threatened to kill her during one incident and recorded their sexual encounters without her consent. So this is not, if this isn't true, that's not okay. That's serious. Like, if you say someone threatened to kill you, and we have the audio, which I think she may be referring to, we'll play that audio and then I'll let you decide how you feel about that. But also keep in mind, we don't know if that's the full audio. We don't know if it has been edited or not. We really don't know. So keep that in mind. Also, why was he being recorded? Let's continue on. So again, there's Shannon Sharpe there. Sharpe flew into fits of anger when the plaintiff noted his infidelity to their relationships or called him out about his extraneous activities. What had once been manipulation, control, and intimidation now became something far more dangerous and sinister. Sharpe even figured out how to get into Doe's apartment complex without her permission. Allegedly, I'm adding. Sharpe made it clear that what Doe wanted was of no moment, that Sharpe would get what he wanted when he wanted it. In October 2024, Shannon Sharpe violently sexually assaulted the plaintiff on 2 separate occasions in Las Vegas, ignoring her request to stop, allegedly. Jane Doe is represented by attorneys Tony Busby and Mika Nash. And we already went into who Tony Busby was. Shannon Sharpe is denying all allegations of coercion or misconduct, especially the gross lie of sexual assault, and will not submit to what he sees as an egregious attempt at blackmail. So let's get into this here. There is something you should know, right? Because people are calling out the timing of this. So again, we're going to show you both sides. It just so happens that on April 20th, it was announced NFL great HBCU legend Shannon Sharpe reportedly signing huge $100 million plus media deal. This was big news. It says here that he had received multiple offers since his current contract with the Volume podcast service expires. Club Shay Shay and Nightcap with Chad Johnson have dominated the sports and entertainment podcast space while garnering industry awards and honors. That Cat Williams episode on YouTube set records and presently has over 89 million views. So, this is something I think that's important for us to add to this conversation, which is that it's interesting that the accusations in the lawsuit is happening at the same time that this $100 million deal is also happening. Could be a coincidence. Don't know. But that's something that you need to know. So some people are asking, is this why she filed the lawsuit? People who believe Shannon Sharpe are saying, oh, she's just trying to come after this type of money. Now I have the audio that she submitted to TMZ. Again, this is the audio portion that she sent to TMZ. And I believe this is what she's referring to when she says that he threatened to kill her. Listen to this.
I don't know. Anything I say, you're just gonna like get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me. So I feel like
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
what? What does that even mean?
Once again, you want to be a dick to me now, so.
I don't want to be. Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna fucking choke the shit out of you when I see you.
So I don't know if everybody heard what he said there. We'll rewind it back a little bit with the captions.
Manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you say that one more time, I'm gonna fucking choke the shit out of you when I see you.
So that's the audio that is making its way around the I'm going to choke the, F out of you, etc. Now, again, we don't know if that's the full audio. We don't know if that audio has been edited or not. We really just don't know. All we know is this soundbite that we have right here, right? So keep that in mind. We do have a response from Shannon Sharpe. We're going to show that as well.
Yes, you do.
Well, I don't.
Yeah. So that's the audio. And I'm just forewarning people, we got to be really careful nowadays. We just really do with audio and even some of these videos with AI and everything. You got to be careful. Now, he did issue a response. I was actually surprised. He did this because usually with these types of situations, the lawyer would say, don't say anything publicly, but he did say something. So let's go ahead and bring this in.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Buzbee, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Buzbee targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video.
So did you hear what he just said? A 30-second clip of a sex tape. So that's what I'm saying. That audio that we heard, we don't know if that was a threat or if that was like role play. We just don't know. Again, like it was recorded. We do not know. We don't know. And I see everybody once again as a lawyer on social media. Everybody's a lawyer now. So this is his side of it. Let me go back just a little bit. Sorry.
Every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Buzbee want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks. To my family.
Do you guys think that it was a good idea for him to issue a public statement? Because like I said, typically with these situations, the lawyer will advise them not to say anything publicly just yet, right? Because it can be used against you, right? So he is obviously denying these allegations. And I think you need to see some of the text messages as well. There's more that goes into this. Some of the text messages that have surfaced between the two. Shannon Sharpe shares alleged text from sexual assault accuser, put a big black baby in me. Like when I read this, I was like, I cannot believe what I am reading right now with my own eyes. Statement by Lanny J. Davis, counsel to Shannon Sharpe. If there's any kids in your room right now, you might want to put them to bed. So I want you to put a dog collar around my neck and choke me with it while you're effing me. Gabriella Zuniga in a text message to Shannon Sharpe on October 7th, 2023. I know you missed this big juicy ass. 25,000 for each cheek. Gabriella Zuniga in a text message to Shannon Sharpe January 1st of 2025. Now, she is saying that one of the incidents she said happened in January of 2025. So keep that in mind as well. And also, guys, listen up. I told you about text messages and pictures and stuff coming from women. Be very, very careful. Some of these women will send this type of stuff and it's like a honeypot thing, or they're trying to trap you, or they're trying to be able to get some type of money or something out of you or whatever. And to the women, like, don't. If you wanted something like this private, as you see, these things don't stay private. It's not guaranteed to stay private. 25,000 for each cheek. This lawsuit filed by Gabriella Zuniga and orchestrated by her attorney, Tony Busby, is a blatant and cynical attempt to shake down Mr. Sharpe for millions of dollars. It is filled with lies, distortions, and misrepresentations, and it will not succeed. In her effort to extract a large financial settlement, Ms. Zuniga presented Mr. Sharpe with a secretly recorded video of his consensual sexual encounter. So they are saying that that encounter was consensual. So it goes on to say here, Ms. Zuniga has refused to provide a copy of the full unedited version of the recording to Mr. Sharpe's legal team. To set the record straight, we are releasing several of Ms. Zuniga's own explicit text messages to Mr. Sharpe that clearly indicate the nature of their relationship was consensual and sexual in nature, and in many cases, initiated by her with specific and graphic requests. Contrary to the allegations she makes in the lawsuit, consensual sex continued until January 2nd, 2025, the day after she asked for $25,000 per cheek. There are other examples of text from Ms. Zuniga. For example, oh boy, let's see here. Let me get this out of the way. Only if you put that baby gravy in me, then I can do whatever I want to me. Baby gravy in me, then I can do whatever I want to me. Text from Gabriella Zuniga to Shannon Sharpe, November 23rd, 2023. I want to put my tongue in your boop hole and then marry you. 2024. That's my daddy. Fuck, I want you to put a big black baby in me. That's August of 2024. Guys. Notori says, not baby gravy nasty. I'm like, what in the world? She said, big black baby. This was, too much for Sabby. You better crave it because you're gonna be stuck with it for life after you put a big black baby in me. What's the obsession with the big black baby? Like, what the hell? Oh, man, this is ridiculous. Oh my gosh. Text from Gabriella. This is August 11th, 2024. These messages are just a sampling of a broader pattern of graphic sexual communications initiated by Ms. Zuniga. The evidence paints a clear picture. This was a consensual adult relationship that included role-playing, sexual language, and fantasy scenarios explicitly requested by Ms. Zuniga. The edited tape that Ms. Zuniga secretly taped and showed to Mr. Sharpe during her blackmail attempt tries to falsely portray, as a result of this editing and out of context from prior text messages, that the sexual activity was not consensual. Well. Again, it goes on to say he denies all allegations. Now let's move on to this part, because Brown Girl Grindin, who is a previous senior news producer at TMZ. I want you to hear what she added to this conversation. I spoke with Tony Busby and Shannon Sharpe's legal team, and I have some updates. First, I asked Tony Busby, attorney for the accuser, one, I asked if this case is happening because Shannon Sharpe is reportedly in talks for a $100 million podcast deal. He answered, these Shannon Sharpe allegations are not because of the recent $100 million podcast deal talks. Attorney Busby claims that he'd been in a preliminary mediation with Shannon Sharpe and his legal team since February of 2025. Tony Busby allegations that during this mediation, it was agreed that certain information was released in Shannon's statement would be retracted. So let me pause there for a second. So according to this, she's saying that lawyer Tony Busby has been in mediation talks with Shannon Sharpe about this since February. Allegedly. Let's continue on here. It goes on to say Tony Busby calls the inclusion of Jane Doe's name and text. I think she needs to edit this. Jane Doe's name and text in Shannon Sharpe's statement an alleged attack on a young girl, and alleges the texts Shannon says she sent him were sent well before the acts being claimed in her lawsuit. So first of all, I get it that she asked Tony Busby, is this happening because Shannon Sharpe has that $100 million deal? But what lawyer is going to say, absolutely, my client is actually doing this because he has a $100 million deal on the table? Who's going to say that? Get out of here. 2, I asked him about the video blackmail Shannon Sharpe mentioned in his statement. Tony Busby answered that Shannon Sharpe's lawyers were allegedly shown the video in full during a mediation. Tony Busby alleges that Shannon Sharpe allegedly denied to view the video and offered a settlement in exchange that the victim denied. So it was $10 million. People were asking, what was that settlement? The alleged offer was $10 million. This is why I said I'm showing you both sides of the story, because there's a lot of, back and forth here. But he's claiming that Shannon's lawyer saw the full tape. Second, I then spoke to Lanny Davis, attorney for Shannon Sharpe, in response to Tony Busby's claims. Shannon Sharpe's attorney denies that their team was ever extended the offer to see the video in full. He did confirm to me that only Shannon Sharpe's attorneys were shown the tape, but they allege they were shown an edited version of the video, which they confirmed was edited after explaining it to Shannon Sharpe. Shannon's attorney says they described it to Shannon, and Shannon was convinced it was edited. Shannon's attorneys alleged they then were asking Mr. Busby for a copy of the tape to determine with a neutral expert whether it was edited, and he refused. Shannon Sharpe's attorneys also allege that Mr. Busby has misleadingly disclosed the discussions with the mediator. Ms. Zuniga the woman accusing Shannon Sharpe demanded tens of millions of dollars in return for her not going public. So the only way that she wasn't going to make this a public situation apparently was through money, right? And I guess she didn't get the money that she wanted or the offer that she wanted, so she went public. They're standing on claims from Shannon Sharpe's statement that the accuser secretly taped the sexual activity that morning and says they have reason to believe she significantly edited the tape. Again, he is denying all allegations. Class E said, I don't usually say this, but Unc should have made sure this got settled. Tony might have a win here. Interesting, folks. Interesting. Because what's telling about all this is that, number one, it does appear there was some type of meeting in February. Number two, it does appear that there was money that was demanded. That we do know for sure. What we don't know is if this is the full audio. We don't know that for certain. We don't know that it's edited. We don't know that it's not edited. We don't. But a lot of people are saying, like, Shannon, stay away from those younger girls. People are saying that type of thing. I told you guys at the beginning of 2025 that this was going to be the year of lawsuits. It's already April and there's been a number of lawsuits that I've covered so far. Like, this is, I don't know. And this is a civil case. This is civil. She's asking for money, not criminal. If this was a recent, again, she said October 2024, January 2025. Why isn't there a criminal suit? Hey guys, this was a Sabby clip. If you like what you saw, hit that like button and subscribe.